I'm Melina. I'm on the sales side of things here at 3XR. And Steph is on the 3D side. And today we just wanted to talk through some recent advancements that Steph's been working on specific to ambient occlusion. Welcome to the 3XR podcast. We know a lot about 3D and we're working to digitize the world one 3D model at a time. One thing that we're learning a little bit about is how to create a podcast. So join us each week as we talk about who we are, what we're doing here at 3XR, share new and emerging technology, and forecast what the XR future is going to look like. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share. Great to have you, here, Steph, so that we can talk a little bit about some of the tech advancements that you've been focusing on the 3D side of things. So I don't know if you want to just introduce yourself and just say a little quick hello and why you are in this space and what it is that you love about 3XR, and then let's get right into it.
I'm Stephanie. I'm a 3D artist at 3XR. I've always been interested in art. I'm extremely interested just in making things look good. I get a special warm feeling when I think that something looks nice and when other people tell me it looks nice as well. I like working. What's that?
I said I love that. And I mean, I'm one of those people who tells you that things that you create look good. So
it's nice. It makes me feel like, okay, I'm doing a good job here. That's nice. And it's awesome because at 3XR I get to actually, I get to double down and actually think about ways to just like improve the workflow, like make things quicker. And I don't know, kind of like use my eye for art as a science. I don't know, something like that.
Oh, I love that. Use your eye for art as a science. That's cool. So,
like math.
So, I mean, we figured today we would just kind of talk a little bit about some of the work that you've been doing with baking textures and some of the work that you've been doing on like our lighting scene and improving the look of our renders. So, of course, it's something that, benefits all of our end customers, but, it's also just great to see that there is so much opportunity for exploration within the 3D space. I think that's what's so cool to me about some of the work that we're doing and driving on our platform is, we make it really easy for our artists to create and to not get so bogged down in some of the details because of some of the work that, you're driving and Sam is driving. So, I figured today we would just talk a little bit about some of the most recent enhancements that you've been making. I know you have a slide deck that you pulled together, so we can pull it up if you want. You can feel free to share your screen whenever it's helpful. But do you want to just maybe kick it off by providing just an overview of what it is that you've been working on and what you're proud of right now?
Yeah, let me actually share my screen. Yeah, I guess to like kind of bring back what I was talking about before is that you can bake a shadow from light into your render, but what we're actually going to do here is we're going to bake the AO into the render. So the difference between an ambient occlusion map is essentially generated from the model itself. So it's like a computer calculated shadow based on the model's geometry. Whereas if we were to just bake a shadow with the lighting, it would do just that. It would bake that lighting into the ground plane. So I put up an example here on the first slide of what a shadow would actually look like in the render scene. So the problem here, if you notice the outer edges, is that the shadow for this model is pretty long and it gets cut off. So it kind of, it takes away from the look of the PNG and makes it unusable almost. So the problem is that with the volume of models that we have coming in, it's kind of like very time consuming to go in and fix the lighting for each model, or like if you were to go into post and fix the shadow with, say, Photoshop or GIMP, it just, with hundreds of models coming in, it's just, almost impossible. So what we're going to do is we throw a ground plane onto the bottom, and we're going to bake a calculated shadow, I guess you would call it, from the model's geometry itself. Yep. And so the next image would kind of, that's essentially what you're going to get. So it's a nice contained thing. It's staying inside the frame, and we don't have to think about it. And we could just hook this up and have the computer do this for us all day.
And so can you talk me through in the top right hand corner? Is this like a bird's eye view of what that shadow looks like, or like an underneath?
Mm-hmm. That is, yeah, that's exactly what the shadow looks like. So it's completely black underneath the model itself because the computer knows that part of the model is touching the ground, so it's going to receive no light.
Yeah, it looks like, well, it's funny. It kind of just looks like a burn mark a little bit, like a like a burnt piece of paper, kind of. Yeah, so AO, well, I mean, this is just is AO ambient occlusion?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Just
what do I say? AO stands for ambient occlusion.
And so how is this working on like all products, right? So this is a very very specific little like figurine statue that we're looking at here, this little like cottage house for like, what even is this? Does it come like garden? Is this like a garden gnome thing?
That is actually a decoration that Mike has right now. That's one of Mike's models. I think he made this before I ever started working at 3X. I just like it because I don't know, it looks real and it's different from the coffee machine.
Does. It definitely does. You know what it looks like? It looks like something that my grandmother would have like on her mantle with like a whole bunch of little like, that it's just like a little scene or a community or something.
Yeah, my grandmother had one of those too. It's like a Christmas city. I don't know. It just reminds me of that.
Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, on like above the fireplace. That's usually where it goes. So talk me through like how is this going to work across all of our models, right? So we're modeling small figurine type things of this nature. Then we're also playing around in the consumer goods space. So we're looking at more appliances, and then of course we're modeling furniture, larger products like generators and sheds, and yeah. So talk me through it. So like how actually does this work, and what was your process when you went through, identifying that we had this problem and that this was the solution?
Yeah. Well, we actually already use ambient occlusion. Whenever we make a model, we also generate an ambient occlusion map, which it will just, I kind of wish I had an example to show you right now. It's when you look at an object and you see in the cracks, like there'll be like dark areas, or like right at the bottom, like things will get darker. It's just that little detail that when you're looking at something, it makes you think it's real because you would expect to see those shadows in real life. It's almost like when there's a lot of times when people are looking at a 3D model and they could see something's not right, but they're not sure what it is. Usually it's the ambient occlusion. It's because there's no shadow in those little cracks that you would get from like real life lighting.
I see. Okay.
So that's kind of like why I feel like that's why that's why I knew about it already, that you can set the distance like to limit the spread of the shadow. So basically we had the problem that the shadows were hard to control without me actually going in and setting the lights up in a certain way for them. So we had this problem where, yeah, the shadows were hard to control. So what we did was at first we just omitted the shadow. Like all of our previous renders just have no shadow. So, and obviously like as an artist and a human, like I want to see those shadows back. So it was just something that was like on my mind and I was just thinking about, and yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah, well, that makes sense. I mean, I think this is now like the second time. Oh, sorry, I just went back by accident. But I feel like that's a lot of how we've optimized our process, right? Is just playing around and trial and error. This doesn't feel super scalable, or this, I think you do a fantastic job of just as we're getting an influx of volume of models, or as we're modeling different types of products, that you do a good job of this feels like something that we should have a better handle on and we don't right now. And then you just kind of figure it out. And
Yeah.
so that's, I think, what's so cool about, some of the work that you're driving and some of what we're doing here is it's very much our process is fantastic and it's only continuing to improve, from a render and a 3D side of things. So I always appreciate, seeing these types of updates. So
Yeah. I mean, it's always on the back of my mind that I know that we have so many models coming through the pipeline that we need something essentially that could be repeatable for every single model.
yeah.
So that's why when I figured out that this was actually something we could do and that we could automate it, it was just like, I have to do it. And I just put it in everyone's eyes and I was just like, hey guys, again, until I got the okay. And now we're working on actually implementing it so that it's part of the process. No one has to think about it. It's just something that's done.
Yeah. Well, I think that's awesome. And so what's next? Like in this space, like what else, like what else are you thinking about? What else can we be doing?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many things. This week, I just implemented the new HDRI, which you probably heard me up on my soapbox about, singing about. Because again, like where we have so many models coming in, we've had models that were an inch tall to models that are 160 inches. And again, with the problem with that is that you're going to have to go in and change the lighting sometimes, depending on the size of the model. So it was just getting to be something like I was racking my brain on like how much do I have to scale the light based on, the model size. And it just, I don't know, it was just something that it just didn't seem possible to get a handle on like that. So I just decided let's scrap the, old fashioned lighting scene, as you would call it, traditional light scene. And let's go HDRI, baby, because that's the new thing. That's what everyone's using.
I love
So, so I
that.
decided let's get it, I
Yeah.
don't know.
And so just for some of the folks who are maybe listening and don't know what that means, what exactly, like what benefit do we get out of this switch to HDRI?
So HDRI stands for High Dynamic Range Imaging. Basically, it's an image wrapped around. Hold on, this is not gonna help you guys. Like,
This is usually what happens when I ask most questions to you and Steph, and you're like, I just need an example to show.
you know that meme of Zach Galifianakis with all the like calculations in front of his face? I always feel like that. But it's essentially like wrapping the image around the object rather than using lights, and then that image is essentially emitting light itself, and you don't have to scale it at all. Like I could get the same lighting on a 1-inch model as I can get on that same model when it's 400 inches. So it's like that. It's awesome.
Yeah.
It just saves so much time just getting everything in. You don't have to think about it, and you're just going to get a good render no matter what.
Awesome. And what's the plan to kind of like roll that out across? Like what do you need to do to ensure that we're leveraging that across the board?
Basically, we have one render scene set up. And so when a model's processed to our site, it just goes through that render scene. And we have the camera moves based on the size of the model. So that's all set. It's scripted in there.
Yep.
So basically, it's just a matter of I've already plugged the HDRI in essentially, and it's going already.
Awesome.
So
is there a plan to like go back and would we rerun models through the render scene with the new HDRI included in there? Or like, I think it'd be cool maybe in future, in either like future podcasts or just future communication for us to do kind of like a side-by-side, of like prior to this new solution, the model looked like this and now it looks like this. That could be cool.
Yeah, I actually do. I have some images like that that I put into my oh, I threw it in the daily stand up too, actually. I have one. I don't know if,
Gotta
here,
love
I'll,
daily stand up. For anyone who's listening and you don't know what that means, we're probably also throwing out a lot of terms that many folks don't know, but the daily stand up is how 3XR shares what we're all working on internally. So gotta love a good Slack channel. That daily stand up Slack channel is kind of like our holy grail of startup life, moves pretty quick. So what's everyone working on? And um,
I mean, this is just like a couple of examples that I just threw together. So with the balloon dog, that's really a bad render because it's 160 inches tall. So when I set up the render scene initially, it was actually never really meant to work for a model this big, but since we do get models this big, we had a need, you know.
right. Yeah, I mean the chair looks awesome. So these examples that we're looking at here, and again, it's just helpful to sort of talk through for the folks that are listening and maybe not looking. But talk me through what we're seeing here. So we have a chair, and the one on the left is the render without the HDRI.
Exactly. The one on the left is from our old render scene from about last week. Excuse the fact that the top render with the chair still has the background in it. I was kind of just doing it for my own testing, but I used it as an example just to show everyone, like, hey guys, look what I did. So like, as you could see in like you could probably notice, like, it's very shadowy in the front of that
Yeah.
chair. And then just with the HDRI, it just, and the cool thing about having an HDRI is if we ever wanted to make adjustments, it's just one image. And also we can save HDRIs and, like, even in the future offer multiple HDRIs. So if you wanted to, let's say, light your chair looking like it's on a beach or maybe in like a night city.
Oh, that'd be awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, you could
Cool.
just
Yeah.
potentially in the future, you could just click a button and change these things. So it's really cool. I'm really excited about that, actually.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where that's what's next stuff, right? It's
Yeah.
next is applying the HDRI to all models so that we can ensure, the light is hitting them effectively and that the photorealism truly is there. Not so, I mean, modeling is hard, and I think modeling across varying product categories as well is tricky too. And so for us to have an all-encompassing solution, such as the application of the HDRI to all renders, is so awesome. And I think it's it's just cool that it's such a versatile application.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm excited to start to share these models and sell.
Excited. And side note, which might be more of like a comment for you, and I don't know if it would help the listeners, but if you have come across a model in the past that didn't have a good render, you might have to switch yourself into QA actually, but you can hit the reprocess model button and it should automatically make new renders with the HDRI. So yeah, I've been doing that to some models and everything's coming out good. It's really exciting.
Cool. Okay. And in which program are you referring to?
Just on the 3XR platform.
On the 3XR platform. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So if that is exciting to anyone who's listening, and you want to learn more about our platform, you can absolutely get in touch with me, Melina. I'm on the sales team. But yeah, so Steph, is constantly improving and iterating on our 3D process with regards to our render scene, which I feel like you were pretty much like the master of the render scene. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, I think that's fair. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So Steph, our master of the render scene, has done an awesome job of really pushing the envelope and making sure that we are absolutely providing, the best possible photorealistic render of all of the assets that come out of our platform. So if anyone, would like to learn more about our render scene, you can reach out to Steph directly. What's your email? Cree, Cree at 3xr.com.
Exactly.
Yeah, cool. Well, anything else you wanted to share? This has been super informative for me. I obviously heard about this and knew that this was an advancement that, you had been working on, but I think it's just helpful for folks to hear a little bit of the behind the scenes of what's going on. And maybe we'll have you on here in the future to share some other tips as master of our render scene.
Yeah, I'd be happy to be here. It's been fun.
So if anyone has any render specific questions, feel free to shoot them over to us, and make sure to like, subscribe, comment, do all of the things so that you can stay in the loop with our 3XR podcast. Thanks for joining us this week on the 3XR podcast. Make sure to visit our website, 3xr.com, where you can subscribe to the show. While you're at it, if you found value in the show, we'd appreciate you simply telling a friend about it. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode. Thanks for being a part of the 3XR community.